Everybody wants to know who are the Hollywood witches. And it's quite obvious that some are and some are not. But first, let me get into the area of the witch. A lot of times people hear the term witch and they automatically think that somebody is doing something sinister, satanic, or overall just pure evil. But in fact, when you look at the actual biblical sense of the word witch and where it came from, that energy was first known as the wise woman. And the wise woman has been held in many stories of mystical healers, areas of mysterious properties that some women hold. And while these women may study the cosmos or study herbs or study certain rituals or practices, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing anything evil or obscured. Lately, there's been a video floating around, and I'm not even going to play it. And it comes to the notion that Erykah Badu reveals that the only woman that she is supposedly scared of, as someone who I would consider a very high influential wise woman, is Kidada Jones. So I did watch this video in its whole entirety because I wanted to see exactly what it was saying. And what it was saying was a bunch of speculation. And this is one of the reasons why you don't believe everything on the internet. So Kidada Jones was the ex of Tupac, and she was actually the one who was with him at his untimely death. Meaning they lived together and they shared a very sacred bond. But Kidada Jones, I don't know if I would necessarily call her a traditional wise woman, as she is very private and she's not seen as very flamboyant or vivacious as many would think the most traditional wise woman should look. But in all honesty, those are the wise women or the witches that might make others quite nervous. Because if you don't know about anybody's practices or areas of ritual, you know that they are extremely powerful. There are some wise women who don't even have to create a vision board. They literally talk their visions into existence or post their visions into existence, which is interesting because I did find a post where Kidada Jones did mention Erykah Badu, but as you could see, this was back in 2016. It was a retweet of Erykah. One of the things that did stand out and I was able to find was LL Cool J did date Kidada before Tupac. They actually had a relationship, and a lot of people feel like they had some type of connection and that LL Cool J saw a spiritual side of her that he wanted to talk about, and ultimately he broke up with her because of her spiritual essence. LL Cool J even writes about his encounters with Kidada. He even said in one section that there was a time where she was rubbing a black feather down his spine and he woke up. But this was ultimately the reason why they did break up. She would go to a shaman, I'm assuming, consult a guru, and pray to his statues. Before my album 14 Shots to the Dome dropped, Kidada told me she threw some kind of stick into the internal fire for my album. I was like, yo, why did you do that? I didn't ask you to do that. The joint flopped. Oh well, I'm sorry I cared, she said. I had hurt her feelings. She had hurt me too. I know she meant well, but I just couldn't get with that. She took me to her guru once, and I remember kneeling before this strange young woman who was touching feathers. I do think it's interesting how Kidada's dad, Quincy Jones, has 7 children. 7 is considered as a wise number. I will say, if LL Cool J broke up with her because of her spiritual presence, that is something that many men and individuals do with wise women is they don't understand the culture. They don't understand the rituals behind it. But obviously Tupac did. And that is one of the reasons why I do think they had a very soul and deep connection, because Tupac was very esoteric, and he was very deep, and he had a lot of spiritual base, not only to himself, but also to his music. And there were times that he made very wrong decisions. I do think that Kidada is a modern mystic. And I do think it's very odd that this show or this podcast is implying that Erykah Badu spoke up about her. Because like I said, I watched 2 interviews and I actually went back and read the transcripts, and I did not find anything about that, because most wise women know that you don't really speak up about another woman's practice. It's considered a negative form of negativity and energy. Now, if she is saying that she is a very karmic being and that she is very powerful, that's a little bit different. But when we have a modern mystic who keeps her areas of mysticism hidden, as another modern mystic or another wise woman, you do pay respects to that, and you don't necessarily go around and running and speaking about it. So I feel like this was false news.